What we have here is a solar photovoltaic array that generates electricity that is fed back into the building to supply a small portion of Knoy's energy. We had an older system that was rated at around 3 kilowatts. This newer system with newer panels, newer technology is rated at closer to 9 kilowatts. And as a frame of reference, this 9 kilowatt array would power an entire home, but obviously not all of Knoy Hall. So the array is used primarily, it does supply some electricity, but it's used primarily for teaching and then also long-term research into the long-term performance of solar panels. The original array was built around year 2000, and each individual panel was rated at roughly 120 watts. For purposes of comparison and to show you how much the technology is advanced, the panels that we're putting on today are roughly the same physical size, but they're rated at 285 watts. So comparing 120 to 285, the newer panels in the same footprint put out about 3 times more power. And the panels that were put up in year 2000, while they weren't obsolete, they were definitely, their performance was degrading enough that we wanted to move to newer panels, mainly just to show what the newer technology looks like. And the way that they're installed is a lot different as well. These panels, although we're taking our time today, they're designed to be plug and play. So the electrical connections are literally an electrical quick connect from one panel to the next. So the wiring doesn't even really need to be done by an electrician. So big difference in terms of how the panels function, but also how they're designed to be quickly installed. This is a slightly larger array, but roughly the same number of panels. I think we had 24 before, we're going to 28 now, but it's a 3-time increase in the rated power output, so significantly more power output. In the School of Engineering Technology, we have the Applied Energy Lab. The students there were more involved in the initial design, working with the solar panel manufacturer to design the racking system and the electrical wiring. Today on the day at construction, we're working more closely with construction management students to do the electrical wiring while the mechanical students are physically attaching the panels. And obviously we're working closely with the university itself. So physical facilities is sending electricians and inspectors over here to make sure when the product is done, it's done safely and to kind of their expectations. So they get the electricity, but none of the hassle. There's also full data monitoring on this array that goes up to a website. So it's great to use in a classroom setting because we'll bring the students up here and show them the panels, but then as a homework or a lab assignment, they're gonna look at what the power output of the panel is and compare that to the current weather conditions so they can calculate an efficiency. How well do these panels convert sunlight into useful electricity, and so get a more meaningful understanding of what's happening to the electricity. Long term, we're working with other departments on campus to maybe use this as a showcase for looking at the long-term degradation of solar panels so we can develop better models to predict how panels age and have a better idea of when they need to be replaced. So there's a research focus as well. We've done some research recently on the economics of utility scale solar panels, much larger systems, and the numbers are favorable even for a place like Purdue. So as Purdue is developing its sustainability plan and its campus master plan and the acreage west of campus, the time is right to begin doing the long-term planning. So maybe not tomorrow or maybe not the next day, but in the next several years, solar energy is going to be a very feasible option for Purdue, even though we enjoy our own power plant. The cost of large-scale utility systems with economies of scale, that's come down to the point where, again, it's a viable option for Purdue to consider as an institution. There's a lot of potential possibilities. One thing you do is look to the rooftops on campus, but that's problematic because although there's acreage there, it's not big open acreage and you get into conflicts with the use of the roof. But the area around the airport, particularly south of the airport, where there's restricted space for runways and it's still relatively flat, that's one pretty good place to look. There's other options as well. Basically, any site of land that's not going to be developed in the near future, that has access to electrical infrastructure, and I'm saying on the order of 30 acres, is a pretty good candidate for a utility scale solar array. There's also a lot of different ways to get at a project like that financed. Duke, as a utility in the state, is interested in owning solar assets, but there's a way that it could be done economically with Purdue owning the asset and using it on their own. So there's a lot of ways to justify it economically that weren't available in the past. This was primarily financed as lab development. With the overall transformation of the college, we're working on our own energy transformation, and we think it's important to showcase renewable technologies, particularly solar, to both construction and School of Engineering Technology students.